So we just discussed the January 6th hearings where some bombshell new information was revealed. Trump being supportive of the rioters who wanted to kill Mike Pence. They wanted to hang Mike Pence, and Trump supported that. Clear evidence showing that Trump was being repeatedly told by people around him that his election claims were false, and much more. So even before these hearings, just the fact that they were happening enraged Trump. But then, of course, afterwards, he was not too happy. And before we take a look at what he said, the scary part about all this is if you watch the hearings, it was made so clear, something we already knew, but it was made really clear in these hearings, that all of this was motivated by Trump and the people perpetuating his same lies. People said after the fact who were arrested, the ones who had broken into the Capitol, I did this because President Trump told me to. Let's take a quick look at that.
What made me want to come was the fact that, I had supported Trump all that time. I did believe, that the election was being stolen. And Trump asked us to come.
He personally asked for us to come to D.C. that day. And I thought, for everything he's done for us, if this is the only thing he's going to ask of me.
And then people are reading his tweets while they're breaking into the Capitol.
Mike Pence didn't have the courage to do what should have been done to protect our country and our Constitution, giving states a chance to certify a corrected set of facts, not the fraudulent or inaccurate ones which they were asked to previously certify. U.S. demands the truth.
So all of this was caused by him telling these lies. And as was revealed, he was told by people close to him that what he was saying was not true, that there was no evidence for the claims he was making, but yet he kept going out and lying still. And the craziest part, too, is that we're a year and a half later, still no evidence of the claims he's made, and yet he's still going off about the election being stolen. And before the hearings happened, as well as after the hearings happened, with all these revelations that came out, his only response to all of it is to keep telling those lies. He took to Truth Social saying, and this is before the hearings, the Unselect Committee didn't spend 1 minute studying the reason that people went to Washington, D.C. in massive numbers, far greater than the fake news media is willing to report. He's so obsessed with that. Or that the Unselects are willing to even mention. Because January 6th was not simply a protest. It represented the greatest movement in the history of our country to make America great again. It was about an election that was rigged and stolen, random capitalizations for no reason, and a country that was about to go to hell. And look at our country now. And he puts out another truth saying the Unselect Committee of Political Thugs, essentially the same group who brought you the fully debunked and discredited Russia hoax, and many others, refused to study and report, and on he goes to make the exact same point. And then we'll skip to after the hearings happened. So the Unselect Committee of Political Hacks refused to play any of the many positive witnesses and statements, refuses to talk of the election fraud and irregularities that took place on a massive scale, and decided to use a documentary maker from Fake News ABC to spin only negative footage. Our country is in such trouble. Well, I could not agree with that last statement more. Our country is in a lot of trouble, but for the opposite reasons than he would think. So what he's doing is so scary because we're a year and a half out and watching everything that has happened, all the damage that's been caused by his lies. His only response to all of that is to keep telling his lies. So what he's doing is setting up a situation where the exact same thing could happen again. This is a massive threat to our democracy. And while I totally recognize the Democrats have so many issues, and we should point those out, criticize them, what they will do, and what we know that Biden would do if he lost the next election, is concede and give up power. And that is what holds our democracy together. And so while I know a lot of people on the right think this statement comes off as hyperbolic, it's true. Donald Trump is the biggest threat right now to American democracy. Again, I know a lot of right-wingers hear that and they're like, oh my God, some lefty. But really think about it. In 2020, he was okay allowing our democratic process to fail for his own gain so that he could stay in power, all based off of lies. He was willing to let all that happen just for his own gain. How is that not the biggest threat if he's clearly trying to set up a situation where he can do it again? He's telling the same lies. And so we can't withstand another January 6th. We can't withstand having a president in power who refuses or does everything possible to the last second to keep himself in power, even if he lost the election. We just cannot survive that as a democracy. And so if you're on the right and you're reasonable at all, I beg you to think about, with all the issues you probably have with the left, on this, take a stand for democracy and the importance of having people in power who respect our democracy enough to want to give up power if they lose a fair and free election. Doesn't matter. We can figure out our disagreements later, but as of now, we should unite conservatives and liberals, and I mean the reasonable conservatives who don't believe the election lies, to do everything we can to prevent Trump from getting in power so that we don't have to go through that again, where maybe it goes worse next time. Because I can tell you, everything that went wrong for Trump in 2020 that caused Biden to eventually get in power, he's going to be ready and not allow those things to go wrong again. So we do have to take this seriously, and everyone who is even somewhat reasonable needs to unite to prevent him from getting back in power. Super appreciative to the David Pakman Show for having me fill in today. Don't forget to check out my channel, Luke Beasley on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube or listening to the podcast, there will be a link in the description box. Definitely go check me out. We'll be right back with much more.
One of our longtime sponsors is Monk Pack, offering delicious sweet granola bars and nut and seed bars with only 1 gram of sugar or less, 2 to 3 net carbs, perfect if you do keto, and 150 calories or under. So you can enjoy a sweet, satisfying, crunchy snack without the guilt. Their granola bars come in flavors like peanut butter, coconut cocoa chip, honey nut, my favorite, blueberry almond vanilla. Monk Pack nut and seed bars come in flavors like sea salt dark chocolate, macadamia white chocolate, caramel sea salt, and pumpkin seed cinnamon. I've always found the flavor and texture of these bars awesome and unique. You've got to try it at least once. I think you'll be hooked. And if you don't love Monk Pack as much as I do, they'll refund all of your money or exchange the product. You'll also get 20% off your first order when you go to monkpack.com and enter the code PACMAN at checkout, or click the link in the description.